The space around Thanatos Prime burned with the light of 1,000 weapon discharges. 3 massive fleets hung in the darkness, each one representing a different alien empire that had been fighting over this star system for more than 40 years. The war had turned the once beautiful system into a graveyard of broken ships and dead worlds. Admiral Krex of the Vorthak Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bloodfang. His reptilian features twisted into a snarl as he watched another of his destroyers explode under enemy fire. The scaled warrior had been fighting in this cursed system since he was a young soldier, and still the war continued with no end in sight. "Report," Krex demanded, his voice a deep growl that made his bridge crew flinch. "Sir, the Hive Lords are pushing toward the third moon again. Their bioships are regenerating faster than we can destroy them," reported his tactical officer, a younger Vorthak, whose scales still showed the bright green of youth. On the other side of the battlefield, Queen Mind Ziska directed her swarm from within the living hull of her bioship Eternal Hunger. The insectoid leader felt the pain of every ship that died through her psychic connection to her fleet. Each loss was like losing a part of herself, but she pushed forward anyway. The Thanatos system contained resources that her growing hive desperately needed. The bioship pulsed around her as she sent mental commands to her fleet. Thousands of smaller vessels moved like angry hornets, their living hulls glowing with bioelectric energy. They crashed into Vorthak ships trying to break through their armor with acid and living weapons that ate through metal. Meanwhile, the third faction in this endless war floated in perfect geometric formations. The Nexari coalition ships looked like giant crystals that caught and reflected the light of battle. Inside the largest crystal ship, Prime Crystal Veltar processed battle data at incredible speed. The silicon-based beings thought in pure logic, but even they were growing frustrated. With this war that seemed to have no solution, combat efficiency remains at suboptimal levels, Veltar transmitted to the other crystal mines in the fleet. Vorthak aggression and Hivelord reproduction rates continue to offset our technological advantages. The 3 fleets had been locked in this same pattern for decades. The Vorthak were strong fighters but used brute force tactics. The Hive Lords could replace their losses quickly with new bioships, but they were not very smart in battle. The Nexari had the best technology, but they were few in number and moved too slowly to press any advantage. Each side controlled different parts of the Thanatos system, and none could drive out the others completely. The 4th planet was split between Vorthak mining operations and Hive Lord breeding grounds. The asteroid belt was contested space where small battles happened every day. The system had become a meat grinder that consumed ships and lives with no purpose other than the fighting itself. Captain Hyunwoo stood quietly on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the alien fleets tear each other apart on his view screen. The human battle vessel hung in space at the very edge of the system, its powerful sensors recording everything that happened in the distant battle. The ship was massive, easily the size of an alien flagship, but it remained completely undetected by any of the warring factions. "Sir, we have been observing for 6 hours now," reported Lieutenant Da-un from her position at the tactical station. Her voice was calm and professional, showing no emotion as she watched thousands of beings die in the distance. "The pattern remains consistent with our previous observations. No tactical innovation from any faction." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. He was a tall man with graying hair and tired eyes that had seen too much warfare in his career. The human fleet had been watching this system for 3 years now, studying the aliens and their endless conflict. What they had learned troubled him greatly. "Commander Tae-hyun, what is your assessment of their technology?" Hyunwoo asked. The chief engineer looked up from his console, where streams of data flowed across multiple screens. Tae-hyun was younger than his captain, but his expertise with advanced systems was well known throughout the human fleet. "Sir, their weapons and defense systems are approximately 200 years behind our current standard. The Nexari come closest to our early fusion technology, but even they lack basic quantum field manipulation." "And their tactics?" Hyunwoo turned to his tactical officer. Da-un pulled up a holographic display showing the movement patterns of all 3 fleets over the past several hours. "Primitive and predictable, sir. The Vorthak rely on overwhelming firepower with no finesse. The Hive Lords use swarming attacks but lack coordination beyond basic hive instincts. The Nixari have better planning but move too slowly to adapt to changing conditions. Communications Officer So Young raised her hand to get the captain's attention. She was monitoring all frequencies, listening to the alien chatter as they fought and died. Sir, I am picking up some interesting transmissions. The aliens are using weapons that would be considered war crimes under human military law. Explain, Hyunwoo said, his voice becoming harder. The Vorthak are targeting civilian evacuation ships from the outer planets. The Hive Lords are using bioweapons designed to cause maximum suffering before death. The Nixari are employing quantum disruptors that tear apart molecular bonds in living tissue. So Young's face showed her disgust as she reported these facts. Sir, they are not just fighting a war. They are trying to cause as much pain as possible to their enemies. Dr. Young Jin, the ship's science officer, looked up from his analysis station. Captain, I have been studying the environmental damage to this system. In the 43 years of this conflict, they have rendered 2 planets completely uninhabitable. The 3rd planet's atmosphere has been poisoned by bioweapons. They are destroying everything they claim to be fighting over. Hyunwoo walked to the large view screen that dominated the front of the bridge. In the distance, he could see the flashes of weapons fire and the bright explosions as ships died. Each flash represented hundreds or thousands of lives ending in violence. The senselessness of it made him angry, but he kept his emotions controlled. Security Chief Ji-won approached the captain. She was a compact woman with sharp eyes and quick reflexes. Her job was to protect the ship and crew, but she also served as the captain's advisor on matters of military policy. Sir, we have completed our mission parameters. Command wanted us to observe and report on alien military capabilities. We have enough data to write a comprehensive report. Yes, we do, Hyunwoo agreed. But I find myself wondering if observation is enough. The bridge fell silent as the crew considered their captain's words. They all knew what he meant. The human fleet had the power to end this war in a matter of hours, but their orders were only to watch and learn. Earth's government was still debating whether humanity should reveal itself to the wider galaxy. Navigator Haiwan spoke up from her station. Sir, if I may, we have charted 47 human colonies that are closer to Earth than this system. Our expansion has been peaceful, but these aliens seem to know only war. If they discover our worlds... She did not need to finish the thought. Everyone on the bridge understood the implications. Humanity had been lucky so far. Their expansion into space had been methodical and careful, avoiding contact with alien civilizations until they better understood the galactic situation. But this war in the Thanatos system was spreading. Refugee ships were fleeing to nearby systems, and eventually some of them might stumble across human colonies. Sir, said Chief Medical Officer Su Jin, I have been analyzing the casualty reports that we have intercepted. Conservative estimates suggest that over 2 billion sentient beings have died in this conflict, the wounded and displaced number in the tens of billions. This is not just a war, it is a humanitarian disaster on a scale we have never seen. Hyunwoo closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened them again, his decision was made. Open a channel to Earth Command, Priority Alpha encryption. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Priority Alpha was reserved for the most critical communications, usually involving threats to human space or requests for major policy changes. So Young quickly established the connection, using quantum entanglement communication that could not be intercepted by alien technology. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main screen within seconds. The elderly Chinese admiral was the commander of Earth's space forces and one of the few people who knew the full extent of human expansion into the galaxy. Captain Hyunwoo, this is unexpected. Your next scheduled report is not due for another week. Sir, I am requesting permission to intervene in the Thanatos conflict, Hyunwoo said without preamble. The admiral's eyebrows rose in surprise. That is far outside your mission parameters, Captain. We agreed that humanity would remain hidden until we better understand the galactic political situation. With respect, sir, we understand it perfectly now, Hyunwoo replied. These 3 species have been locked in a pointless war for 4 decades. They are committing what we would consider crimes against sentience on a daily basis. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but their capacity for cruelty is beyond anything in our historical records. On the tactical display, another, fourth-act ship exploded, taking 300 crew members with it. In response, a Hive Lord bioship released a clow. The UES Indomitable emerged from stealth mode like a ghost materializing in the darkness of space. One moment there was empty void at the edge of the main battle zone, and the next moment a massive human warship hung there, its hull gleaming with an unknown metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light in strange ways. Admiral Krex was the first to notice the newcomer. His tactical officer's voice cracked with surprise as he reported the contact. "Sir, we have an unknown vessel appearing on our sensors. It just appeared out of nowhere." Krex studied the readings with growing confusion. The ship was large, easily the size of his own flagship, but its design was completely unfamiliar. It had smooth, curved lines that looked nothing like the angular Vorthak ships, the organic curves of Hivlord biovessels, or the geometric precision of Nexari crystal craft. "What species?" Krex demanded. "Unknown, sir. The ship does not match any design in our databases. Its energy signature is unlike anything we have seen before." Across the battlefield, Queen Mind Ziska felt a disturbance in the psychic field that connected her to her swarm. Something new had entered their space, something that did not belong to any of the three warring factions. Her bioship's living sensors turned toward the strange vessel, trying to understand what they were seeing. The ship was clearly artificial, not grown like her biovessels, but it did not have the crude construction she expected from non-organic technology. Instead, it seemed to flow like water that had been frozen into the shape of a warship. Her insectoid mind struggled to process what her sensors were telling her. Prime Crystal Veltar processed the new contact with typical Nexari logic. The ship's appearance violated several known laws of physics. Its stealth technology was beyond anything in Nexari databases, and the energy reading suggested power generation capabilities that should not be possible with known fusion technology. Analysis complete. Veltar transmitted to the other crystal, mines in the fleet. Unknown vessel represents technology advancement of approximately 300 years beyond current galactic standard. Origin unknown. Threat level unknown. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Hyunwoo watched the alien reactions with satisfaction. His ship's sensors were monitoring all three fleets, recording their communications and analyzing their responses to humanity's sudden appearance. "Sir, all three fleets have noticed us," reported Communications Officer So Young. "They are broadcasting requests for identification on multiple frequencies. Some of the messages are less than friendly." "I imagine they are confused," Hyunwoo said with a slight smile. "Lieutenant Dayun, what are the alien fleets doing?" Dayun studied her tactical displays. "The Vorthak fleet is moving to an attack formation, sir. They appear to be treating us as a potential threat. The Hive Lord bioships are moving in our direction, but slowly. They seem more curious than aggressive. The Nexari have stopped fighting entirely and are running deep scans on our ship." "Let them scan," Hyunwoo said. "They will not learn anything useful. Our hull is designed to confuse sensors that are not based on quantum mechanics." Chief Engineer Tae-hyun looked up from his station. "Sir, the Nexari scans are actually quite sophisticated for their technology level. They are using crystalline resonance patterns that I did not expect them to have developed. Still, they cannot penetrate our quantum shielding." The captain nodded. "Very well. It is time to see how they react to a demonstration of human technology. Lieutenant Daun, power up our main defensive grid. 50% strength only." "Aye, sir. Quantum field generators coming online." Around the Indomitable, space itself began to shimmer as the ship's defensive systems activated. The quantum field generators created a barrier that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making the ship nearly impossible to damage with conventional weapons. Admiral Krex watched his sensors with growing alarm as energy readings from the unknown ship increased dramatically. Whatever they were doing, it was drawing more power than his entire fleet could generate. "Sir, should we consider this a hostile act?" asked his tactical officer. Krex studied the readings for a moment longer. The smart thing would be to wait and see what the stranger wanted. But Krex had not become an admiral by being cautious when, faced with unknown threats. All ships prepare to attack the unknown vessel. If they are here to interfere with our war, they will learn the price of Vorthak displeasure. The Vorthak fleet turned as one toward the human ship. 47 vessels, from massive dreadnoughts to fast attack cruisers, aimed their weapons at the Indomitable. The plasma lances that had destroyed countless enemy ships began to charge with deadly energy. Sir, the Vorthak fleet is preparing to attack. Dayun reported calmly. I see that, Hyunwoo replied. Are our shields ready? Yes, sir. Quantum barriers are stable at 50% power. Good. Let us see what they can do. The Vorthak attack came like a storm of fire. 47 ships fired their plasma lances, simultaneously, creating a focused beam of energy hot enough to melt through the hull of any known warship. The combined firepower could have destroyed a small moon. The plasma beam struck the Indomitable's shields and simply disappeared. The quantum fields absorbed the energy and converted it into harmless radiation that scattered into space. The human ship did not even shake from the impact. On the bridge of the Bloodfang, Admiral Krex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His sensors showed that the plasma lances had struck their target directly, but the unknown ship showed no damage at all. In fact, the energy readings from their defensive systems had actually increased. Report, Krex roared. Sir, all weapons struck the target, but they show no effect. Their defensive systems appear to have absorbed our attack and grown stronger from it. Impossible! Nothing can absorb that much plasma energy. On the Indomitable, Chief Engineer Taehyun smiled as he watched his displays. Captain, the alien attack actually helped us. Our quantum capacitors are now charged to 65% capacity. Their plasma weapons are surprisingly efficient at generating the type of energy our systems can use. Excellent, Hyunwoo said. I think we have their attention now. Communications Officer So Young, open a channel to all 3 fleets. Channel open, sir. Hyunwoo's voice carried across space to every ship in the Thanatos system. When he spoke, his words were calm and measured, showing no anger or fear despite being outnumbered by hundreds of alien warships. I am Captain Hyunwoo of the United Earthship Indomitable. We are representatives of humanity, and we have come to observe your conflict. We mean no harm to any faction, but we will defend ourselves if attacked again. The response from the alien fleets was immediate chaos. Communications channels filled with panicked chatter as commanders tried to understand what they had just heard. Queen Mind Ziska was the first to respond. Her bioship pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as she opened a communication channel. Earth? Humanity? These terms are not in our databases. What species are you? Where do you come from? Admiral Krex was not interested in conversation. Unknown ship. You will identify your homeworld and explain your presence in this combat zone immediately. This system is under Vorthak claim by right of conquest. Prime Crystal Veltar's response was more analytical. Human vessel, your technology suggests advanced stellar civilization. Our records contain no reference to your species. Please provide star charts showing your territorial boundaries so we may avoid future conflicts. Captain Hyunwoo listened to all 3 responses before answering. Our homeworld is called Earth, located in what you would call the Sol system. As for our territorial boundaries, we currently control 847 star systems in this region of the galaxy. The silence that followed this statement was complete. Every alien commander was trying to process what they had just heard. 847 systems would make humanity one of the largest stellar empires in known space, but none of the 3 warring factions had ever heard of them. Dr. Youngjin approached the captain with a data pad in his hands. Sir, I have been analyzing the alien responses to our presence. Their brain activity patterns suggest extreme confusion and growing fear. They are beginning to realize that they may have made a serious mistake by attacking us. Good, Hyunwoo said. Fear will make them more careful. But we need to show them that our technology is not just defensive. Lieutenant Dayun, target the Vorthak flagship's main weapon systems. Precision strike only. I want to disable their plasma lances without harming the crew. Dayun's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Target locked, sir. Quantum disruptor. Ready. Fire. A beam of pure energy, invisible to most sensors, lanced out from the Indomitable toward Admiral Krex's flagship. The beam struck the Bloodfang's main weapon battery, and every plasma lance on the ship simply stopped working. The weapons were not destroyed, just rendered completely inert by technology that rewrote their basic atomic structure. Admiral Krex felt his ship shake as the alien weapon struck. Damage report. Sir, our main weapons are offline. All plasma lances have been disabled, but there is no hull damage and no casualties. They somehow turned off our weapons without harming anything else. Krex stared at his tactical officer in disbelief. To disable weapons so precisely without causing any other damage required technology that was beyond his understanding. The silence that followed Captain Hyunwoo's declaration stretched across the entire Thanatos system like a held breath. Hundreds of alien warships hung motionless in space as their commanders tried to process what they had just heard. The war that had consumed the system for 4 decades was ending today, according to a single human vessel. Admiral Krex was the first to break the silence. His reptilian features twisted with rage as he opened a communication channel to the human ship. You dare command the Vorthak Empire? We have fought for this system longer than your pathetic species has probably existed. One ship cannot end what 3 fleets cannot resolve. One human ship can, Captain Hyunwoo replied calmly, and we will demonstrate exactly how. On his bridge, Hyunwoo turned to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Dayun, show them our fleet. Positions. Dayun's fingers danced across her console, sending quantum-encrypted signals to ships that had been waiting in perfect silence throughout the region. One by one, stealth fields deactivated across dozens of star systems, revealing the true scope of humanity's presence in local space. The alien sensors went wild as contact after contact appeared on their displays. Human ships materialized in empty space where nothing had been detected moments before. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek cruisers, and advanced support vessels became visible in a carefully coordinated revelation. Queen Mind Ziska felt her psychic connection to her swarm shudder as the scale of human military power became clear. Her bioship's living computers struggled to count all the new contacts. Impossible, she whispered. Where did they all come from? Prime Crystal Veltar processed the new data with typical Nexari efficiency, but even their advanced logic systems were overwhelmed by what they were seeing. Analysis indicates 51,736 human vessels now visible in local space. Veltar transmitted to the other crystal mines. Previous stealth capabilities suggest actual numbers may be significantly higher. Navigator. Haywan smiled as she watched the alien reactions on her display. Sir, all fleet elements are now visible and in position. Admiral Park reports that the Second Fleet is ready to support our operations if needed. The Second Fleet will not be necessary, Hyunwoo said. We are here to end a war, not start a larger one. Dr. Young-jin looked up from his analysis console with fascination. Captain, the alien brain activity patterns are showing extreme stress responses. The Vorthak are experiencing what appears to be combat shock. The Hive Lords are having difficulty maintaining their psychic connections under this level of surprise. The Nexari seem to be handling it better than the others. Logic versus emotion, Hyunwoo observed. The Nexari may be our best hope for reasonable negotiation. Communications Officer So Young raised her hand to get the captain's attention. Sir, I am receiving multiple communication requests from all 3 fleets. They all want to know the same thing. How long have we been watching them? Tell them the truth, Hyunwoo said. We have been observing this conflict for 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days. We have recorded every battle, every war crime, and every senseless death. As So Young transmitted this information, the alien fleets erupted in panicked chatter. The idea that an unknown alien species had been secretly watching their most private military operations for years was terrifying to all 3 factions. Admiral Krex slammed his clawed fist against his command console. 3 years. They have. Been spying on us for 3 years and we never detected them. What else have they been watching? On his tactical display, contacts began appearing throughout Vorthak space as human stealth ships revealed themselves in system after system. The humans had not just been watching the Thanatos conflict. They had been monitoring the entire Vorthak Empire. Queen Mind Ziska felt a chill run through her bioship as similar revelations reached her. Human vessels were appearing near Hivelord breeding worlds, research stations, and military bases throughout their territory. The aliens had been observing everything. They have seen our weaknesses, she transmitted to her swarm commanders. They know our numbers, our tactics, our capabilities. We are completely exposed to them. Prime Crystal Veltar reached the same logical conclusion through different reasoning. The humans had clearly been conducting a comprehensive intelligence operation against all 3 species simultaneously. The strategic implications were staggering. Attention, human vessel, Veltar transmitted. Your surveillance activities constitute acts of espionage against sovereign stellar nations. This could be considered grounds for war. Captain Hyunwoo's response was immediate and firm. War? You want to discuss war with us? Very well. Let us discuss what we have learned about your methods of warfare. The main display on the Indomitable's bridge lit up with footage that made even the hardened human crew uncomfortable. Intelligence Officer Jae Sung had compiled the worst examples of alien brutality from 3 years of observation. This is footage from the Battle of Thanatos 7, Hyunwoo narrated as the images were broadcast to all alien vessels. Vorthak forces using plasma bombs against civilian shelters. 3 million non-combatants killed in a single attack. Admiral Krex felt his scales go cold as he watched his own forces committing what humans apparently considered war crimes. To Vorthak military doctrine, eliminating enemy civilians was a standard tactic to reduce their breeding population. The footage shifted to show Hivelord bioweapons in action. Hivelord assault on Nexari Colony 12, Hyunwoo continued. Bioweapons, designed not to kill quickly, but to cause maximum pain and terror. 400,000 colonists died slowly over several days. Queen Mind. Ziska's psychic defenses recoiled from the emotions she sensed in the human transmission. Disgust, anger, and something else she could not identify. Disappointment? The humans were disappointed in them. Nexari, crystalline disruptor. Attack on Hivelord breeding ship. The human captain continued relentlessly. Weapons that tear apart molecular bonds in living tissue. 2 million newborn Hivelords dissolved alive. Prime Crystal Veltar processed the footage with growing unease. To Nexari logic, efficient elimination of enemy reproduction was a sound tactical choice. But the human emotional overlay on the transmission suggested they viewed such actions as morally wrong. Chief Medical Officer Soo Jin stepped forward on the human bridge. Captain, with your permission, I would like to share our medical analysis of the casualties. Proceed, Doctor. Soo Jin's voice carried the weight of professional authority as she addressed the alien fleets. In the 43 years of this conflict, approximately 2,300 million sentient beings have died. Of these, only 12% were active military personnel. The remaining 88% were civilians, support staff, or non-combatants. The numbers hit the alien commanders like physical blows. None of them had calculated the total cost of their war in such stark terms. Additionally, Soo Jin continued, the 3 factions have rendered 4 habitable planets completely uninhabitable, poisoned the atmospheres of 7 others, and destroyed the ecosystems of 31 moons. The environmental damage will take centuries to repair, even with advanced technology. Security Chief Ji-won added her own analysis. From a strategic perspective, this conflict has weakened all 3 factions to the point where they are vulnerable to external threats. Your populations are declining, your resources are depleted, and your military forces are exhausted. You are destroying yourselves for no strategic gain whatsoever. Admiral Krex found his voice first. You think you can judge us? You think your soft human morality applies to the real galaxy? This is war. War is supposed to be brutal. War is supposed to have a purpose, Captain Hyunwoo replied coldly. What is the purpose of your war, Admiral? What do you hope to achieve that justifies 2 billion deaths? Krex opened his mouth to respond, then closed it again. The Vorthak Empire had been fighting for so long that he had almost forgotten why. The war started. Control of the Thanatos system, pride, the simple inability to admit defeat. Queen Mind Ziska felt a similar confusion ripple through her psychic connection to her swarm. The hive had been fighting to secure breeding grounds and resources, but they had lost more population than they had gained. The war was actually weakening the species it was supposed to strengthen. Prime Crystal Veltar's logical analysis reached an uncomfortable conclusion. Conflict parameters indicate that continued warfare will result in mutual extinction within approximately 57 years. No faction can achieve decisive victory with current resource allocation. Finally, Hyun Woo said, "Someone who can see the truth. Prime Crystal Veltar, your analysis is correct. This war cannot be won by any faction. It can only end in mutual destruction." Engineer Taehyun looked up from his console with new data. "Captain, I have completed my analysis of the alien fleet's current condition. The Vorthak have approximately 40% of their original strength remaining. The Hive Lords are down to 35%. The Nexari have maintained 55%, but only because they have been more cautious. All three factions are already defeated," Hyun-woo said, broadcasting his words to every ship. "You simply have not admitted it yet. The question now is whether you will accept defeat with honor, or whether you will force us to impose it upon." The hour that followed Captain Hyun-woo's ultimatum was filled with frantic communications between the three alien fleets. Admiral Krex paced his bridge like a caged predator, his tactical officers calculating odds that grew worse with every new human ship that appeared on their sensors. "Sir, our analysis is complete," reported his chief tactical officer, a scarred Vorthak veteran named Grix. "The human fleet positions are perfect. They can attack all three of our factions simultaneously without any of us being able to support the others. Their technology advantage means they could destroy our entire fleet before we could mount an effective counterattack." Krex's claws scraped against the metal railing of his command platform. "You are telling me to surrender to aliens we knew nothing about an hour ago?" "Sir, I am telling you that fighting them would be suicide for our entire species," Grix replied carefully. "These humans have been watching us for 3 years. They know every tactic we use, every weakness we have. They positioned their fleets specifically to exploit our vulnerabilities." Meanwhile, Queen Mind Ziuska struggled with a decision that went against every instinct her species possessed. The Hive Lords had never surrendered to anyone. Their entire culture was based on the idea that the strong consumed the weak, and survival belonged to those who fought hardest. But through her psychic connection to the swarm, she could feel something she had never experienced before: fear from her own warriors. Her bioships were creatures of war, bred for battle and destruction. But even they could sense the overwhelming power of the human fleet. "My queen," transmitted one of her brood commanders, "the humans are not like the Vorthak or Nexari. Their ships feel wrong, cold, dead. But they contain life that burns brighter than anything we have encountered." Ziska understood what her commander meant. Hive Lord bioships were living creatures that could sense the life force of other beings. Human ships registered as artificial constructs, but the crew inside them radiated an intensity of purpose that was almost painful to perceive. Prime Crystal Veltar approached the decision with characteristic Nexari logic, but even their advanced processing power struggled with the variables involved. The Nexari had built their entire civilization on the principle that superior technology would always triumph over inferior opponents. Now they faced beings whose technology was so advanced that it made Nexari science look primitive. The logical response was clear, but accepting it required abandoning the fundamental assumptions that defined their species. "Fellow crystals," Veltar transmitted to the other minds in the fleet. "Analysis suggests that resistance is futile. Human technological advantage is approximately equivalent to our advantage over pre-spaceflight civilizations." "That comparison disturbs us," replied another crystal mind. "Are we truly so inferior to these humans?" "Inferiority is a biological concept," Veltar responded. We are simply encountering a species that has advanced farther along the technological development curve. The logical response is to learn from them, not to fight them. On the Indomitable, Captain Hyun-woo monitored the alien communications with growing impatience. His universal translator was working overtime to process the different languages and concepts being discussed across the three fleets. "Sir," reported Communications Officer So Young, "the Nexari seem to be leaning toward acceptance of our terms. The Hive Lords are divided, with approximately 60% of their commanders supporting negotiation. The Vorthak are having more difficulty reaching a consensus." "The Vorthak are warriors," observed Security Chief Jiwon. "Their entire culture is built around concepts of honor and strength. Accepting defeat without fighting goes against everything they believe." Intelligence Officer Jae Sung looked up from his analysis station. "Captain, I am detecting increased energy signatures from several Vorthak ships. It appears they may be preparing for a last-ditch attack." "Let them prepare," Hyun-woo said calmly. "But make sure they understand what they will be attacking." "Lieutenant." Daeun's fingers moved across her tactical console. "Sir, should I ready our defensive systems?" "No. If the Vorthak choose to attack, we will not defend ourselves. We will simply demonstrate why defense is unnecessary." Dr. Young Jin looked up from his medical sensors with concern. "Captain, that approach could result in significant alien casualties. The Vorthak ships are not equipped to survive the kind of weapons we would need to use to stop them quickly." "Then let us hope Admiral Krex is smarter than his reputation suggests," Hyun-woo replied. With 15 minutes remaining in the ultimatum, the first crack appeared in the alien unity. Prime Crystal Veltar opened a direct communication channel to the human ship. "Captain Hyun-woo, the Nexari Coalition formally accepts your terms for arbitration. We will withdraw our fleet to the designated coordinates and cease all hostile operations in the Thanatos system." "A wise decision, Prime Crystal Veltar," Hyun-woo replied. "Your cooperation is noted and appreciated." The Nexari fleet began moving immediately, their crystal ships gliding away from combat positions with mathematical precision. As they withdrew, the tactical balance in the system shifted dramatically. With the Nexari no longer a factor, the Vorthak and Hive Lord fleets found themselves more exposed to human weapons. Queen Mind Ziska felt the change through her psychic link to the swarm. The careful three-way balance that had defined this war for decades was collapsing. If the Hive Lords continued fighting, they would face both the humans and the Vorthak without Nexari support. "The Hive must survive," she whispered to herself, the fundamental law of her species overriding her warrior instincts. She opened a communication channel to the human vessel. "Captain Hyun-woo, the Hive Lord swarm accepts your arbitration. We will withdraw our bioships and cease hostile operations." "Another wise decision," Hyun-woo acknowledged. "Queen Mind Ziska, your species will not regret choosing survival over pointless destruction." As the Hive Lord bioships began their withdrawal, Admiral Krex found himself in an impossible position. His fleet was now alone against overwhelming human forces, with his former enemies retreating to safety under human protection. "Sir," whispered his tactical officer, "we cannot fight them alone. Even with our full fleet, we would be outnumbered 50-1. Krex's reptilian features twisted with rage and frustration. "So the great Vorthak Empire is to be humbled by unknown aliens? Our ancestors conquered 17 star systems with nothing but courage and superior firepower." "Admiral," came a new voice from the communication station. "I am receiving a direct transmission from the human captain. He is requesting a private channel." Krex hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Captain Hyun-woo's face appeared on his personal display, and the Vorthak Admiral was surprised to see understanding rather than contempt in the human's eyes. "Admiral Krex," Hyun-woo said quietly, "I know what you are thinking. Your warriors are prepared to die rather than surrender. Your culture demands that you fight when faced with overwhelming odds. You understand nothing about Vorthak honor?" Krex snarled. "I understand more than you think," Hyun-woo replied calmly. "My species has also known war, Admiral. We have fought for survival, for resources, for ideology, and sometimes simply because we forgot how to stop fighting. But we learned something that your species has not yet discovered. And what is that, human? True strength is knowing when not to use your power. True honor comes from protecting your people, not from dying gloriously while they suffer. Your warriors are brave, Admiral Krex, but bravery without wisdom is just another form of waste. Krex felt something shift inside his chest as the human words struck home. He thought of the millions of Vorthak who had died in this pointless war, of the colonies that had been abandoned to pay for more warships, of the young warriors who would never see their homeworld again. What do you propose? Krex asked quietly. Accept our arbitration and withdraw your fleet. In return, I give you my word as a human officer that your species will be treated with respect and fairness. This war has no winners, Admiral, only survivors. Let your people be among them. For a long moment, the bridge of the Blood Fang was silent except for the hum of weapons that would never be fired. Krex looked around at his officers, seeing his own doubts reflected in their eyes. Very well, he said finally. The Vorthak Empire accepts human arbitration. We will withdraw our fleet. On the Indomitable, Captain Hyunwoo felt a weight lift from his shoulders as the last alien fleet began moving to safe positions. The war was over. After 43 years of senseless destruction, the killing had finally stopped. Communications. Officer So-young. Broadcast to all vessels. The Thanatos War is officially ended. All factions will maintain their current positions while we establish permanent arbitration protocols. Chief Engineer Tae-hyun looked up from his console with satisfaction. Sir, our deep space sensors are confirming that fighting has stopped throughout the system. For the first time in 43 years, no weapons are being fired in Thanatos space. Dr. Young-jin began preparing his medical teams for the massive humanitarian effort that would be needed. Captain, with your permission, I would like to begin coordinating medical aid to the wounded. All three factions have significant casualties that require immediate attention. Permission granted, Doctor. But remember, we treat all wounded equally, regardless of species or... 6 months after the human intervention in the Thanatos system, the changes were visible even from space. Where once there had been debris fields from countless battles, now there were busy shipping lanes filled with merchant vessels from all 3 former enemy species. The dead worlds were slowly coming back to life as human terraforming technology helped repair decades of environmental damage. Captain Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Thanatos station, watching Vorthak cargo ships dock peacefully next to Hivelord biotransports and Nexari crystal haulers. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, built using the best technology from all 4 species. Captain, the morning briefing is ready, announced Lieutenant Da-yoon, who had been promoted to serve as the station's security chief. Her new role involved coordinating peacekeeping efforts across the entire system. How are our guests this morning? Hyunwoo asked as they walked through corridors that hummed with activity from dozens of different species. Admiral Krex is still grumbling about the trade agreements, but his complaints are getting less creative each week. Da-eun reported with a slight smile. Queen Mind Ziska has been cooperative, though her bioship still makes some of the other species nervous. Prime Crystal Veltar continues to be our most logical negotiating partner. They entered the main conference room where representatives from all 3 alien species were waiting. The room had been designed to accommodate the different environmental needs of each faction. The Vorthak section had warmer temperatures and higher gravity. The Hivelord area included bioluminescent panels that helped their insectoid vision, and the Nexari space used crystal resonance chambers that enhanced their communication abilities. Admiral Krex looked up as the humans entered. The Vorthak commander had changed dramatically over the past 6 months. His aggressive posture had been replaced by something that almost resembled contentment. Captain Hyunwoo, I have reviewed the latest shipping reports. Trade volume between our territories has increased by 300% this quarter. Excellent news, Admiral, Hyunwoo replied, taking his seat at the circular table that had become the center of interspecies diplomacy. And how are your people adapting to peace? Krex's scaled features showed an expression that might have been embarrassment. Better than I expected, if I am honest. Our young warriors were initially disappointed to have no enemies to fight, but they have found new challenges in engineering and exploration. It seems Vorthak aggression can be redirected toward productive purposes. Queen Mind Ziska's bioluminescent patterns flickered in what humans had learned to recognize as amusement. The hive has experienced similar adaptations. Our breeding programs no longer focus exclusively on warrior castes. We are developing new subspecies specialized for trade, research, and cultural exchange. Prime Crystal Veltar's crystalline form resonated with harmonious frequencies. Nexari analysis confirms that all three species have experienced significant improvements in quality of life metrics. Population growth is stable, resource allocation is efficient, and technological development has accelerated due to peaceful information exchange. Dr. Young Jin looked up from his medical reports with satisfaction. The health statistics are remarkable. Without the constant stress of warfare, average lifespans have increased across all three species. Birth rates are up, infant mortality is down, and we have seen significant reductions in combat-related psychological disorders. Chief Engineer Taehyun added his own analysis. The technological cooperation has exceeded all projections. Vorthak, metallurgy combined with Hivelord bioengineering and Nexari crystalline computing has created innovations that none of our species could have achieved alone. Speaking of innovations, interrupted Supply Officer Bo Young, the Joint Colony Project on Thanatos 7 is ahead of schedule. Representatives from all three species are working together to build the first truly integrated settlement in this region of space. Captain Hyunwoo nodded approvingly. What about the environmental restoration efforts? Remarkable progress, reported Dr. Young Jin. The atmospheric processors we provided have cleared the toxins from Thanatos 3. The bioremediation organisms developed by the Hive Lords are healing the ecosystem damage on Thanatos 5. Even the crystalline radiation from the damaged space stations has been contained using Nexari technology. Communications Officer So Young approached the table with a data pad in her hands. Sir, I have a message from Earth Command. Admiral Chen wants to speak with you privately after this meeting. Of course, Hyunwoo said. But first, let us discuss the next phase of integration. Admiral Krex, how do your people feel about the proposed Joint Defense Initiative? Krex's eyes brightened with interest. The Vorthak warriors are eager to serve alongside human forces. We have much to learn about your tactics and technology. But I must ask, what threats require such cooperation? The war here is ended. The galaxy is larger than this one system, Hyunwoo replied. Our long-range sensors have detected other conflicts in distant regions. Species destroying each other over resources, territory, or simple misunderstanding. Perhaps it is time for a coalition of peaceful species to offer alternatives to endless warfare. Queen Mind Zaska's patterns shifted to show deep thoughtfulness. The hive would contribute to such efforts. We have learned that cooperation produces better results than consumption. Perhaps other species can learn the same lesson without suffering, as we did. Prime Crystal Veltar processed this concept with typical efficiency. A galactic peacekeeping coalition would be logically beneficial. Human technology and wisdom, combined with Vorthak military experience, Hive Lord adaptability, and Nexari analytical capabilities, could resolve conflicts that might otherwise consume civilizations. Security Chief Ji-won had been quietly monitoring the conversation from her position near the door. Now she stepped forward with a concerned expression. Captains, if I may raise a strategic concern, our success here has not gone unnoticed. Intelligence. Reports suggest that other galactic powers are beginning to take notice of humanity's existence and capabilities. What kind of powers? Hyunwoo asked. Species with much larger territories and more advanced technology than these three factions, Ji-won replied. The Korath hegemony controls over 2,000 star systems. The Zephyrian Empire has existed for millennia and considers itself the dominant galactic civilization. They may not appreciate humanity's sudden emergence as a major power. Admiral Krex's warrior instincts immediately activated. If these Korath or Zephyrians threaten our alliance, They will face the combined strength of 4 species, not just humanity alone. That is precisely what I was hoping you would say, Admiral, Hyunwoo said with a smile. The strength of our coalition lies not in any single species, but in our ability to work together toward common goals. Navigator Haiwan entered the conference room with urgent news. Captain, our deep space sensors have detected an unknown fleet approaching the edge of the Thanatos system. Configuration suggests Korath hegemony vessels. The mood in the room immediately became more serious. The Korath hegemony was known throughout the galaxy as an aggressive expansionist power that demanded tribute from smaller civilizations. How many ships? Da-Yun asked, her security training taking over. 47 vessels, including what appears to be a flagship, Haiwan reported. They will reach the outer system in approximately 6 hours. Prime Crystal Veltar's crystalline form began resonating with urgent frequencies. Korath military doctrine typically involves demanding submission before offering the alternative of destruction. They may view our coalition as a threat to their regional dominance. Queen Mind Zezka's bioluminescent patterns shifted to warning colors. The Hive has encountered Korath raiders before. They are cruel and efficient, but they rely on intimidation more than actual combat capability. Then they are about to learn the difference between intimidating primitive species and threatening a human-led coalition, Admiral Krek said with grim satisfaction. Captain Hyunwoo stood up from the conference table. Alert all vessels in the system. Battle stations, but no aggressive actions until we determine their intentions. Communications Officer So Young, prepare to broadcast our diplomatic credentials to the approaching fleet. Sir, should I contact the human fleet? Asked Da-Yun. Not yet. Let us see if our local forces can handle this diplomatically. Admiral Krex, can your ships be ready for combat in 1 hour? 30 minutes, Krex replied confidently. Vorthak vessels are always ready for battle. Queen Mind Zizka, how quickly can your bioships respond? The swarm can be in defensive positions within 20 minutes, the Hive Lord Queen responded. Our bioships have been eager for action, though they prefer cooperative action to destructive combat. Prime Crystal Veltar, are your ships prepared? For potential conflict, Nixari vessels are currently at optimal readiness. Our defensive systems have been upgraded with human technology and are significantly more effective than our previous capabilities. As the meeting broke up and the various commanders rushed to prepare their fleets, Captain Hyunwoo remained behind to take Admiral Chen's communication. The elderly admiral's face appeared on the main display, showing both concern and pride. Captain Hyunwoo, your reports on the Thanatos integration.